Arisa Nura was a Malaysian woman who dreamed of glamour, but found herself trapped in the golden cage of Sheikh Amir Al-Rahmani, a powerful Dubai billionaire whose obsession turned deadly. And by the time her husband Faiz Rahman arrived searching for her, the dessert had already buried its secret. Arisa Nura had always dreamed of a life bigger than what her small Malaysian town could offer. Growing up in Penang, she was known for her grace and beauty, the kind that turned heads wherever she went. She once studied fashion design, hoping to start her own boutique, but life had other plans. When her father fell ill, she left school and married Faiz Rahman, a limousine driver who promised her stability and love. Faiz was loyal, soft-spoken, and hardworking, spending long hours navigating Kuala Lumpur's busy roads to serve the city's wealthiest clients. He adored Arisa, but his devotion couldn't fill the growing emptiness inside her. Their small apartment, though cozy, felt like a cage. Arisa's world had become a cycle of routine meals, endless waiting, and watching her husband come home exhausted. She longed for excitement, something that made her feel alive again. That longing took shape one warm evening when Faiz received a rare assignment, driving for Sheikh Amir Al-Rahmani, a visiting billionaire from Dubai. The Sheikh was known for his wealth, his influence in international investments, and his taste for luxury. He had arrived in Malaysia for business meetings and demanded a personal chauffeur for the week. Faiz, being one of the few drivers fluent in English and Arabic, was chosen. When he told Arisa about it, she offered to come along as a translator, thinking it would break her routine. Faiz agreed, unaware that this simple decision would unravel everything they had built together. The first meeting took place at the Mandarin Oriental Hotel, where the Sheikh was staying. Arisa remembered the way he entered the lobby, commanding, elegant, and surrounded by assistants. Sheikh Amir's presence was magnetic, and his eyes lingered on Arisa longer than was polite. During the drive, he asked casual questions through Faiz about Malaysia, culture, and Arisa's life. Though her answers were brief, he seemed intrigued by her confidence. That evening, when they dropped him back at the hotel, the Sheikh thanked Faiz and handed him a gold business card, saying he might need his services again. A few days later, Amir requested Faiz's car once more, but this time, he specifically asked for Arisa to accompany him. He said he wanted her help translating for a business guest from Cairo. Faiz hesitated but agreed, trusting the man's reputation. Arisa dressed elegantly that day, wearing a simple white blouse and her favorite scarf. As she sat in the Sheikh's luxury suite, waiting for the meeting to start, she found herself drawn to his charm and the effortless way he spoke about life in Dubai. He painted pictures of his world gold-lined offices, dessert palaces, and private islands. It sounded like a dream compared to her quiet life in Malaysia. When the meeting ended, Amir surprised her by offering a job. He claimed he was starting a new fashion venture in Dubai and wanted Arisa's creative eye to help him choose designs. She laughed at first, thinking he was joking, but he insisted he would handle her visa, accommodation, and salary, everything taken care of. It was a tempting offer, almost unreal. That night, she told Faiz about it. He was shocked but didn't want to stand in her way. "Maybe this is your chance," he said quietly. Even though his heart felt heavy. Within 2 weeks, Arisa was on a flight to Dubai. Faiz kissed her goodbye at the airport, unaware that it would be the last time he would ever see his wife alive. When she landed, a black car waited for her with a chauffeur holding her name. The city gleamed under the desert sun, golden towers rising from endless sand, a place built to dazzle and dominate. Arisa felt a rush of excitement and fear. She believed she was stepping into a dream. But somewhere deep inside, a quiet voice whispered that nothing so perfect ever comes without a price. Dubai glittered like a living jewel, every corner gleaming with wealth and power. Arisa Nura could hardly believe the world she had entered. Her new apartment overlooked the turquoise waters of Palm Jumeirah, its balcony lined with white orchids and soft evening lights. Sheikh Amir Al-Rahmani had arranged everything: the furniture, the staff, even a wardrobe filled with designer clothes. He told her it was a gesture of appreciation, a welcome gift for her work. But within days, Arisa realized her job was vague at best. There were no clear assignments, no office meetings, no real work to do. She was simply asked to stay nearby, to attend dinners, and to accompany the sheik whenever he wanted. At first, the luxury drowned her doubts. Expensive perfumes, sparkling jewelry, and limousine rides to exclusive parties made her feel like she was living in someone else's dream. The sheik treated her with affection, introducing her to influential people and calling her his inspiration. His attention was intoxicating, and for a while, she allowed herself to believe that she mattered to him. He took her to private beaches, rooftop restaurants, and desert retreats where the sand shimmered under candlelight. Arisa, who had once counted coins at the grocery store, now wore diamonds and silk. Yet beneath the perfection, a quiet unease began to grow. Back in Malaysia, Faze Rahman's life had fallen into silence. Every night, he checked his phone, waiting for her messages that grew shorter with each passing week. Arisa's tone changed. Her words became colder, mechanical, as if she were speaking to a stranger. Then one evening, while scrolling online, Faze saw a photo on social media that made his chest tighten. It showed Arisa standing beside Sheikh Amir at a charity gala, her hand on his arm, smiling as cameras flashed. The caption called her the Sheik's new muse. That image shattered him. He stared at it for hours before finally booking a ticket to Dubai. When Faze arrived, he tried to call her again and again. Her number went unanswered. He found her address from the driver's company records and went to the apartment building, but the security guards refused him entry. He waited outside for hours until finally, one of the guards told him quietly that Arisa had moved to another property owned by the sheik. Heartbroken and humiliated, Faze wandered through the dazzling city streets, feeling like a ghost surrounded by gold. Inside her new world, Arisa was discovering a darker side to the man who had enchanted her. The sheik had become possessive. He wanted to know where she went, who she met, and what she did every hour of the day. When she mentioned going out alone, his voice would harden, and soon, she noticed his security guards followed her everywhere. The lavish gifts kept coming, but so did the restrictions. What once felt like luxury began to feel like a cage lined with gold. She started receiving calls from Faze, but she couldn't bring herself to answer. Guilt gnawed at her, yet she was too entangled in Amir's control to break free. She promised herself that she would visit Malaysia soon and explain everything. But deep down, she knew that she had gone too far to turn back. Rumors began spreading among the sheik's staff. They whispered that Arisa was no longer just a guest or employee, that she had become his secret companion, hidden from the public eye. And those who served him knew one thing for certain. Sheikh Amir al-Rahmani never let go of what he believed was his. What began as a beautiful escape from a dull life was slowly transforming into a dangerous trap. Arisa could sense it, though she couldn't yet see how close the darkness truly was. The days in Dubai began to blur together for Arisa Nura, each one feeling heavier than the last. What once dazzled her now suffocated her. The laughter, the lights, the luxury, all of it started to feel hollow. Sheikh Amir's charm had faded, replaced by suspicion and anger. He controlled every aspect of her life. Her phone was monitored, her movements watched, and her friends discouraged from visiting. When she looked out from her balcony at the glittering skyline, she realized the truth. She was a prisoner in a paradise made of glass. It was during one of the sheik's exclusive private dinners that everything began to unravel. Arisa had been asked to host a small gathering at his desert villa, where a few of his trusted associates were expected. She sat quietly at the long dining table while the men discussed business, pretending not to listen. But when they began speaking in Arabic, she picked up words she understood: shipments, weapons, and offshore transfers. Her stomach tightened as she realized they were talking about illegal arms deals. Sheikh Amir was not just a businessman. He was moving weapons across borders under the cover of legitimate investments. She kept her eyes down, hiding her shock, knowing even a glance could betray her. Later that night, she returned to her room trembling. She replayed every word she had overheard, her mind racing. She wanted to believe it was a misunderstanding, but the pattern fit. The sudden trips abroad, the coded phone calls, and the armed bodyguards, it all made sense now. Arisa knew she had made a terrible mistake by entering this man's world. She opened her laptop and began searching for flight tickets to Kuala Lumpur, but her attempts were blocked by the sheik's network filters. Her passport, she discovered, had been taken for safekeeping weeks ago. Fear began to crawl under her skin. Desperate, she found a single moment of courage and used one of the servants' phones to send a message to Faze. It was short and haunting. "I made a mistake. Please forgive me. I'm scared." Then she deleted the message and returned the phone before anyone noticed. For the next several hours, she couldn't sleep. She sat by the window, staring at the city lights, knowing she had nowhere to run. Faze, still living in a small apartment in Dara, received the message late that night. His hands shook as he read it over and over. Without thinking, he grabbed his jacket and left for her last known address. When he arrived, he begged the guards to let him through, but they said Arisa had already left hours earlier with Sheikh Amir's personal driver. The guard mentioned a black Bentley and a trip outside the city, toward the desert. Faze waited all night, hoping she would return. She never did. The next morning, her phone went dead. Calls went straight to voicemail. For 2 days, there was silence. Then, a call came to Dubai police from a passerby who had spotted an abandoned car near the Al Qudra Desert Road. The black Bentley sat on the side of the empty highway, its back door half open. Inside, officers found bloodstains on the seat, a torn silk scarf, and a single bracelet engraved with the name Arisa. There was no sign of her body, no footprints leading away, just the endless sand stretching into the horizon. News of the discovery spread quickly, and whispers began to circulate through the Sheikh's circle. He claimed ignorance, telling anyone who would listen that Arisa had left him after a personal disagreement. But the staff who had seen her the night before told a different story, one of fear, tension, and a woman desperate to escape a life she no longer wanted. Somewhere in the silent dunes of Dubai, a secret was buried, and everyone involved knew it was only a matter of time before the truth surfaced. The desert heat was merciless the morning police arrived at the site, where the black Bentley had been discovered. The sand shimmered like fire, swallowing footprints and tire marks within hours. Forensic officers worked carefully, collecting every trace they could find: blood droplets on the leather seat, broken glass near the wheel, a torn piece of fabric caught on a desert thorn. The vehicle belonged to Sheikh Amir al-Rahmani, a name powerful enough to make investigators tread carefully. Yet, the presence of blood and the disappearance of Arisa Nura could not be ignored. Her name, once associated with grace and beauty, was now circulating in whispers across Dubai's elite. When questioned, Sheikh Amir appeared calm, almost indifferent. He claimed Arisa had become unstable, that she had an emotional breakdown and left him after an argument. His tone was measured, rehearsed, the confidence of a man used to control. He told police that she had taken his car without permission and driven off in anger. According to him, she was probably back in Malaysia by now. But investigators quickly realized there was no record of her leaving the country, and her passport was still locked away in Amir's villa. His story began to crack under scrutiny. A team of officers revisited his estate, searching every corner for evidence. They found signs of struggle in one of the guest rooms: a broken vase, a blood-stained cushion, and traces of sand near the back entrance. Surveillance footage from the night she disappeared showed Arisa leaving the villa with the Sheikh's assistant, Rafiq Darwan, just after midnight. 2 hours later, the same car returned without her. Rafiq, when questioned, claimed he had dropped her off at an apartment downtown, but no one there had seen her. The inconsistencies mounted, and suspicion turned into quiet certainty. Days later, a jogger running near the Al Qudra dunes noticed something half buried beneath the sand. It looked like a piece of clothing, but as the wind shifted, a hand emerged. The police were called immediately. What they unearthed was the body of Arisa Nura, her skin marked by bruises, her skull fractured from blunt trauma. A delicate bracelet still hung from her wrist, the same one found in the Bentley. The discovery broke open a storm. Forensic results confirmed the blood in the car matched hers. The illusion of luxury and romance shattered completely, revealing a story of greed, fear, and control. Faze Rahman was brought in to identify the remains. When he saw her, wrapped in a white sheet at the morgue, he didn't cry. His silence was heavier than grief, the kind that only betrayal can create. The woman he had loved, who had left him for a dream, had been destroyed by the very world she wanted to join. He stayed in Dubai long enough to demand justice, though he was warned by many that the Sheikh's wealth could silence anything. Then, an unexpected twist changed everything. Rafiq Darwan, the Sheikh's trusted assistant, was caught at the Oman border trying to flee with a suitcase filled with US dollars and gold bars. Under interrogation, his calm collapsed. He confessed that Sheikh Amir had ordered him to take care of Arisa, after discovering she planned to leave and expose his illegal arms operations. Rafiq admitted that Amir struck her during a violent argument, and that he was forced to bury her body in the desert under the Sheikh's orders. His voice trembled as he described how Amir returned to the car afterward, ensuring her body was hidden before driving away. The confession sent shockwaves through Dubai's high society. For the first time, the untouchable Sheikh faced a criminal charge. Media outlets across the world began covering the story of a Malaysian woman seduced by power, trapped in a golden cage, and murdered when she tried to escape. The image of Arisa's lifeless body in the dunes became a haunting symbol of how glamour could turn to horror when mixed with greed and obsession. The courtroom was silent when Sheikh Amir al-Rahmani entered, his white robe perfectly pressed, his expression unreadable. Cameras flashed as journalists filled every corner, eager to capture the fall of one of Dubai's most powerful men. The murder of Arisa Nura had become an international scandalous story that revealed the darkness hidden behind the glittering walls of wealth and privilege. Across the aisle sat Faiz Rahman, his face pale and hollow, clutching a photo of his wife from happier days. He had followed the case from the beginning, determined to see justice done even in a place where power often bought freedom. Prosecutors presented the evidence methodically. The blood in the Bentley, the surveillance footage, and the fingerprints on Arisa's scarf all pointed to Sheikh Amir. Forensic experts testified about the bruises on her body, the fractures on her skull, and the traces of sand found in her lungs, indicating she had been alive when buried. Each revelation chipped away at the Sheikh's composure. He sat still, occasionally glancing toward the judge, confident that his influence could still protect him. But the world was watching now, and not even his wealth could silence the storm he had created. Rafiq Darwan, the Sheikh's former assistant, became the key witness. Under oath, he recounted every chilling detail the night of the argument. Amir's rage when he discovered Arisa had planned to flee, and the orders to dispose of her body. His testimony painted a picture of control, paranoia, and violence. He spoke of how Amir had become obsessed with Arisa, seeing her not as a woman, but as a possession he couldn't bear to lose. The courtroom listened in disbelief as Rafiq described the drive into the desert, the struggle in the sand, and the Sheikh's final, fatal blow, when it was Amir's turn to speak. He denied everything. He claimed Rafiq acted alone, motivated by jealousy and greed. He called Arisa's death a tragic misunderstanding, but the evidence was overwhelming, and the jury saw through his calm facade. His empire, built on secrets and fear, began to crumble. Business partners withdrew, assets were frozen, and his once loyal staff abandoned him. For the first time in his life, Sheikh Amir al-Rahmani was powerless. The verdict came after weeks of trial. The judge's voice was steady as he pronounced the sentence: life imprisonment for Sheikh Amir, 20 years for Rafiq Darwan. The courtroom erupted with murmurs. Faiz Rahman closed his eyes, not in victory but in sorrow. Justice had been served, but it brought no peace. The woman he had loved, the life he had dreamed of, were gone forever. He walked out of the courtroom quietly, clutching her photo one last time before returning to Malaysia. When Arisa's body was flown home, her family received her in silence. There were no crowds, no headlines, just a simple burial under the cloudy Malaysian sky. Her mother wept as the coffin was lowered into the ground, while Faiz stood beside her, emotionless. For him, closure was impossible. He had lost her long before she died, lost her to temptation, to power, and to a world that devoured innocence. Months later, Sheikh Amir sat in a high-security cell reserved for elite prisoners. The walls were clean, the food carefully prepared, but it was still a cage. He spent his days pacing in silence, haunted by the ghost of the woman who once smiled at him under the desert sun. No amount of wealth could erase what he had done. Arisa's story lived on long after her death. It became a warning whispered across cities, and shared online a reminder that luxury can hide cruelty, that charm can mask danger, and that sometimes the price of desire is far greater than anyone could imagine. Her name, once spoken in love, became a symbol of everything that glitters before it kills.